The small town of Ashwood had always seemed frozen in time, a quiet place where everyone knew everyone's business, and nothing much ever changed. But today, something, or rather, someone, had changed everything. Ethan Caldwell, a strikingly handsome man in his early 30s, rolled into town in a sleek black sedan, the engine purring softly against the backdrop of the sleepy streets. Once a quiet orphan boy, he was now a successful entrepreneur, his name whispered in business circles from Seattle to Chicago. But here, in Ashwood, he was just a face from the past. The old buildings of Main Street hadn't changed much. Rusty's Diner still served the same greasy breakfasts, the library smelled of aging paper, and the town square's fountain still gurgled, though slightly chipped. But to Ethan, every detail was a reminder of the life he'd left behind, the boy who had watched the world move on without him. He parked in front of the Caldwell family house, now abandoned and overgrown with ivy. Memories flooded back, summer nights sneaking out with his childhood friends, winter mornings racing through snowdrifts, and the quiet moments he had spent dreaming of a life bigger than Ashwood. As he stepped out of the car, the crisp morning air brushing against his face, Ethan noticed someone approaching from the corner of the street. Lila Morgan, the girl he had once adored in silence, was carrying a basket of fresh-baked bread from her family's bakery. She hadn't changed much. Her soft brown hair still caught the sunlight in the same way, and her warm, honest eyes could still make his heart skip a beat. "Ethan," she said, stopping in her tracks, her voice a mix of disbelief and curiosity. He smiled, a mix of nostalgia and pride. "It's been a long time, Lila." She studied him, taking in his tailored suit and confident presence. You've changed." "I have," he admitted. "But some things, some people I hope haven't." Lila's expression softened, though she still seemed cautious. "Welcome back to Ashwood. I have to say, I never expected to see you again, especially not like this." "I had my reasons," Ethan said, glancing at the overgrown Caldwell house. "But I'm back now, and I have plans. Plans for the town, for the people who stayed, and for the past I never forgot." Word of his return spread quickly. In a town like Ashwood, news traveled faster than the morning fog. By noon, Ethan was greeted with a mix of awe, suspicion, and gossip. Longtime residents whispered about the rich stranger who grew up here and what his intentions might be. Some remembered the kind, quiet orphan boy. Others remembered the rumors and mischief that had followed him. Ethan didn't let it bother him. He knew why he had come, to rebuild, to restore, and perhaps, he secretly hoped, to reconnect with the life and love he had left behind. As the sun set, casting golden light over Ashwood, Ethan stood on the porch of the old Caldwell house, looking out at the town. He could hear Lila laughing with a few children outside the bakery, the smell of fresh bread wafting through the evening air. For the first time in years, he felt a sense of belonging, a feeling he hadn't realized he'd missed so deeply. He whispered to himself, almost as a promise, "I'm back, and this town will remember me, not as the boy who left, but as the man who returned." And somewhere in the crowd of familiar faces, he felt the first spark of an old, yet still burning, connection with Lila, a connection that might just survive the shadows of the past, the skepticism of the town, and the trials yet to come. A young Indonesian woman with a simple face, wearing a plain hijab, crying in the corner of a luxurious living room, her cheeks wet with tears. In front of her stands a handsome Indonesian man in a sharp black suit, CEO, looking protective and determined. Nearby, a wealthy middle-aged woman in a modern kabaya angrily points her finger, while a glamorous Indonesian socialite smirks with arrogance. Dramatic lighting, intense atmosphere like an Indonesian soap opera. Add bold text overlay, framed as a cheater, in white with a striking red outline. The next morning, Ashwood awoke to a calm that felt almost too quiet. But for Ethan Caldwell, the tension lingered. He had spent the day navigating the delicate politics of a small town, visiting shops, talking to skeptical business owners, and facing more whispers than he could count. Yet one thing made the day worthwhile: Lila. He found her at the bakery before the morning rush, kneading dough with practiced ease. The smell of freshly baked bread filled the air, a scent that brought back memories he had long buried. "Morning, Ethan," she said, glancing up with a soft smile. "You're early, again." "I didn't want to miss you," he admitted, a faint blush creeping up his neck. "Besides, I needed a little reminder of why I'm here." Lila raised an eyebrow, amused. "And that would be?" "You," he said simply, his gaze steady. "And this town, which, well, it never really left me." She looked down, her cheeks flushing. I'm glad you came back. Even if half the town thinks you're a stranger now." Their conversation was interrupted by Mr. Daniels, a local store owner with a frown as deep as the wrinkles on his forehead. "Caldwell," he said, addressing Ethan with forced politeness, "we appreciate your intentions, but we're not sure if the town needs another businessman telling us what to do." Ethan nodded respectfully. "I understand your concern, Mr. Daniels. I'm not here to take over. I'm here to help, to listen, and to give back." The old man grunted but seemed slightly mollified. Lila watched the exchange quietly, impressed by Ethan's calm and diplomacy. After Mr. Daniels left, Lila wiped her hands on her apron. "You really have changed," she said softly. "The boy I knew would have argued, not listened." "I had to," Ethan replied. "Growing up without anyone to guide me, I learned quickly how to handle people, how to handle myself." There was a brief silence, filled with the soft sounds of the bakery, the oven humming, the clink of utensils, and the distant chatter of townsfolk outside. Then, as if drawn together by an invisible thread, Ethan stepped closer. "Lila," he said, his voice low, "I never stopped thinking about you, about us, the way things could have been. Maybe it's too late, maybe not, but I had to tell you." Her heart pounded. She had spent years trying to forget the quiet boy who had captured her young heart, and yet here he was, grown, confident, undeniably real. "Ethan, Before she could finish, a sudden commotion erupted outside. A group of skeptical townspeople had gathered in the square, murmuring about Caldwell's return, questioning his motives, and challenging his presence. Ethan's jaw tightened, but he stayed composed. "I'll handle this," he murmured, taking a deep breath. He stepped outside, Lila following close behind, her hand brushing against his. The touch sent a warmth through both of them, a silent reassurance amid the brewing storm. Facing the crowd, Ethan spoke with authority tempered by respect. "I'm not here to take over, to impose, or to erase what makes Ashwood special. I'm here because I care about this town, and because I remember every kindness, every challenge, and every person who shaped me, including you." The murmurs softened, though skepticism still lingered in wary eyes. Yet one gaze remained fixed on him, warm and familiar. Lila's presence gave him courage, and for the first time, he realized that winning the town's trust would be easier if he could also win her heart, anew. As the afternoon sun dipped low, Ethan and Lila walked together along Main Street, side by side. Old memories mixed with new beginnings. Each laugh, each shared glance, rekindled a flame neither thought could survive the years apart. And somewhere between the lingering whispers of the townsfolk and the golden glow of sunset, both Ethan and Lila felt it, a connection that had always been there, waiting patiently for them to return, ready to burn brighter than ever before. The morning light over Ashwood carried a crispness that hinted at change. Ethan Caldwell walked through Main Street, his tailored suit contrasting sharply with the rustic charm of the small town. Business cards in hand, he moved with quiet confidence, aware that every glance, every whispered word, carried weight. The town's skepticism hadn't faded overnight. While some residents were curious, others still remembered the orphan boy who had vanished years ago, leaving questions and unfinished stories behind. Ethan's first stop was the local diner, a place that had been a second home to him as a boy. Rusty, the owner, greeted him with a mix of suspicion and curiosity. "Caldwell," Rusty said, shaking his head. "You're back. What's this really about? Business? Fame? Or just nostalgia?" "I'm here to invest in Ashwood," Ethan replied calmly. "To help rebuild and support the town. And to reconnect with the people who matter, including you." Rusty studied him, eyes narrowing, then softened slightly. "Well, it's been a long time. Don't screw it up." As Ethan stepped outside, he spotted Lila arranging flowers outside her bakery. She waved, her smile warm yet cautious. He walked toward her, the distance between them charged with unspoken words. "You're handling the town well," Lila said, brushing flour from her hands. "Better than I expected." "I'm trying," Ethan admitted. "But I also know that trust isn't given, it's earned." Slowly, their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of a sleek black car, drawing curious eyes. From it stepped Margaret Caldwell, Ethan's estranged aunt, accompanied by her 2 sons. The family he had barely known had returned with sharp suits, sharper expressions, and expectations that made Ethan's jaw tighten. "Ethan," Margaret said, her voice formal, almost cold, "I see you've returned. I trust you're aware of the responsibilities and the legacy you carry." Ethan straightened, meeting her gaze. "I am, and I intend to honor it, not just for the Caldwell name, but for Ashwood, and for the people who believed in me when I had nothing." Margaret's eyes flicked toward the gathering townsfolk, her skepticism clear. "We'll see if the town shares your enthusiasm, or if your intentions are misplaced." Lila glanced at Ethan, concern in her eyes. "Your family, they don't seem too welcoming." "They never have been," Ethan admitted softly. "But I'm not here to fight them. I'm here to prove that Ashwood, and the people I care about, come first." As the day progressed, Ethan navigated the tension between townsfolk, skeptical family members, and his own desire to reconnect with Lila. Every interaction was a delicate balance of diplomacy and sincerity. By evening, Lila invited him to the bakery for a quiet moment. As they shared a cup of tea, the chaos of the day seemed to fade, leaving only the warmth between them. "You've changed," she said softly. "But some things, some feelings, never do." Ethan reached across the table, taking her hand gently. "Neither have I. And I think I've always felt this, us, meant to be more than just memories." Lila's eyes glistened in the fading light. "Then maybe it's time we stop being afraid of the past, and start facing the future together." In that moment, the town, the family, and the shadows of the past seemed distant. Ethan and Lila's hearts aligned, ready to face whatever challenges awaited in Ashwood, together. The morning fog hung low over Ashwood, curling around the lampposts and spilling across the cobblestone streets. Ethan Caldwell walked with a purposeful stride toward the town square, where a small crowd had gathered. The whispers and skeptical glances reminded him that returning home wasn't just about nostalgia. It was about facing the consequences of a past left unresolved. "Ethan Caldwell," a voice called sharply. It was Mr. Harper, a longtime town elder known for his rigid sense of tradition. "Do you think a rich outsider can just waltz in and fix things? Do you think wealth can erase old wounds?" Ethan held his gaze steady. "I'm not here to erase the past. I'm here to build a future, for Ashwood, for its people, and for the town we all care about. I may have left, but I never stopped believing in this place." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some were impressed by his sincerity, others remained doubtful. Ethan's chest tightened with the weight of their scrutiny, but he reminded himself why he had come back, to earn their trust, not demand it. Later, he found Lila at the bakery, arranging fresh pastries. Her presence grounded him, a reminder of the simple joys he had missed while chasing success. "You handled them well," she said, handing him a warm croissant. Even Mr. Harper looked less hostile than yesterday. "I'm trying," Ethan said with a faint smile. "But some wounds take time to heal. I can't rush them." She nodded. "Just don't forget yourself in the process." Before he could reply, his Aunt Margaret appeared again, this time flanked by her sons, clearly ready to escalate the tension. "Ethan," she said, her tone clipped, "you may have returned as a successful businessman, but Ashwood is more than a personal project. The town, and this family, have expectations you need to respect." "I respect the town, Aunt Margaret," Ethan replied evenly. "And the family. But I will not compromise my integrity or the well-being of Ashwood to appease old grudges." Margaret's lips pressed into a thin line, but she didn't argue further. Instead, she left with her sons, leaving Ethan and Lila to share a quiet moment. "Your family, they're complicated," Lila observed softly. "They've always been," Ethan admitted. "But I'm learning that sometimes you have to set boundaries, even with blood." Lila reached out, touching his arm. "And sometimes you have to open your heart, even when it's risky." Ethan looked into her eyes, the connection between them deepening. He realized that amidst the skepticism of Ashwood, the unresolved family tensions, and the challenges ahead, Lila remained his anchor, a reminder of why he had returned in the first place. That evening, they walked through the town square together, the fading sunlight casting long shadows. Children played near the fountain, Elders exchanged quiet conversations, and the scent of fresh bread drifted from the bakery. "This town hasn't changed much," Ethan said quietly. "No," Lila agreed. "But maybe you've changed enough to help it grow again." He smiled, feeling a sense of purpose settle over him. "Then let's do it, together. For Ashwood, for its people, and for us." Hand in hand, they walked into the approaching twilight, ready to face the challenges of the past and embrace the possibilities of a new beginning. The wind carried a crisp chill through Ashwood as Ethan Caldwell approached the old town hall. Today was different. The whispers had grown louder, fueled by rumors of his family's intentions and the town's skepticism. The townspeople gathered, their eyes full of doubt, curiosity, and cautious hope. At the center, Mayor Thompson waited, arms crossed. "Caldwell, the town is ready to hear your plans, but understand, one misstep, and trust will vanish faster than it took to build." Ethan nodded, his gaze steady. "I understand. I'm not here to prove anything with words. I want to prove it with action. Ashwood deserves more than skepticism. It deserves progress, care, and honesty." Just as he began presenting his vision, plans for restoring old buildings, supporting local businesses, and creating opportunities, Margaret Caldwell stepped forward. Her voice carried authority and tension. "Ethan, there are things you haven't considered," she said sharply. "The town doesn't know you fully. Your sudden return stirs old wounds, and the residents' trust cannot be bought with promises." Ethan's jaw tightened, but he remained calm. "I don't expect blind trust, but I do expect fairness. Let them judge me by my actions, not by the shadow of my family name or my absence as a boy." Meanwhile, Lila stood at the edge of the crowd, her heart pounding. She had always admired Ethan's courage, but seeing him face the town and his family so openly brought a new dimension to her feelings. After the meeting, as the crowd dispersed, Lila approached him. "Ethan, that was brave," she said softly. "But I worry, your family, the town, it's a lot." He smiled, the faint lines of fatigue softening. "I know, but I've faced worse as a boy. This I can handle." Lila hesitated, then took a deep breath. "There's something I need to tell you," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. I never stopped thinking about you, even when you were gone. And seeing you now, it brings back everything I tried to hide." Ethan's chest tightened. "Lila, I felt the same. Every step I took, every city I visited, I thought of Ashwood. I thought of you. And now that I'm back, I realize nothing mattered as much as this. The town, yes, but also us." Her eyes glistened as she reached for his hand. "Do you really mean that?" "Every word," he said, holding her gaze. "We've both changed, but what we had, it never left me. And now, we have a chance to start again. Together." Before they could speak further, Margaret approached quietly. Her expression was unreadable, but the tension had softened slightly. "Perhaps I misjudged you," she said. "Time will tell if you truly care for Ashwood, but at least now, your intentions are clear." Ethan nodded, appreciating the concession but focusing on Lila. "No matter what comes, I know one thing, I don't want to face it without her." The sun dipped low, painting the town in golden hues. Ethan and Lila walked along Main Street, side by side, the unspoken promise of their feelings settling between them. The road ahead was uncertain, fraught with challenges from both family and townsfolk, but for the first time in years, Ethan felt truly grounded, anchored by Ashwood and by the woman who had always held his heart. As night fell, lanterns lit the streets, and the town seemed to exhale in quiet anticipation. Ethan knew the final step was near, to prove to Ashwood, his family, and himself that the boy who had left was now a man ready to embrace love, responsibility, and the future. Ashwood was alive with a golden morning glow, the town square bustling with familiar faces. Today was the day Ethan Caldwell had promised to reveal his final plans for the town, to show that his return was not just a personal journey, but a gift to the community that had shaped him. Ethan stood on the steps of the restored Caldwell house, now a symbol of his dedication and a beacon of hope. The townspeople gathered, some skeptical, others curious, and a few openly supportive. Lila stood at his side, her hand brushing against his, a quiet reassurance that this moment was not just about business, but about heart. "Friends of Ashwood," Ethan began, his voice calm yet commanding, I came back years ago as a boy who left without answers. Today, I return as a man who understands the value of this town, its people, and the love that roots us here. My goal has never been to change Ashwood into something it isn't, but to help it grow into the place it can be, proud, strong, and united. Murmurs of approval began to ripple through the crowd. Mayor Thompson nodded subtly, impressed by Ethan's poise and sincerity. Margaret Caldwell stepped forward, flanked by her sons, her expression softened. "Ethan," she said, "you've proven your intentions are genuine. Ashwood may yet remember why the Caldwell name matters, not for wealth, but for commitment." Ethan inclined his head. "Thank you, Aunt Margaret. Your support means more than you know." Then, from the edge of the crowd, children ran toward Ethan and Lila, laughing. Shopkeepers clapped, neighbors smiled, and for the first time since his return, Ethan felt a sense of belonging that was complete. Turning to Lila, he took both her hands in his. "Lila, through all of this, the doubts, the conflicts, the shadows of the past, you've been my anchor. I can't imagine this town, or my life, without you." Her eyes shimmered with tears of joy. "Ethan, I never stopped believing in us. I think we were always meant to come back together." He smiled, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face. "Then let's not waste another day." As the crowd watched, Ethan knelt on one knee, producing a simple but elegant ring. "Lila Morgan, will you be my partner in life, in Ashwood, and in everything yet to come?" Gasps and whispers of delight swept through the townsfolk. Lila covered her mouth, overcome with emotion. Then, with a radiant smile, she whispered, "Yes, yes, Ethan." The town erupted in cheers, celebrating not just a union of two hearts, but a homecoming of a son, a leader, and a man who had never forgotten where he came from. Later, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting Ashwood in a warm, amber glow, Ethan and Lila stood on the porch of the Caldwell house. Hand in hand, they watched the town they loved thrive around them, knowing that challenges would come, but together they could face anything. The orphan boy who had left Ashwood had returned as a man with love, purpose, and the town's trust. And as he kissed Lila beneath the fading sunlight, Ethan knew that this was the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with hope, family, and forever. Thank you for listening to this story. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. Until we meet again in the next story, take care and keep the magic of imagination alive.